And welcome to Kicking It with Sensei. And this week we're joined by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor, Professor Ryan Young. You're very welcome, Ryan. And if you just give audience a little bit of background onto your martial arts training.
Well, I've done some kind of martial art ever since I was a kid. To a certain degree. I started off with judo. I asked my mom if I could take karate, and she says, no, I don't want you punching or kicking anybody. So she thought it was infinitely better for me to learn to throw people on their head on concrete, I guess. So I started judo and did that for a couple of years and fell out of it for some odd reason, but I was able to use it throughout my elementary and middle school years when I'd get into fights. And being from Hawaii, there's a big thing about getting in fights. I don't know what it is, but we did. And judo saved me a bunch of times. And then in high school, started the Kempo karate. Didn't really take to it too long. Did it for about a year or so, but didn't like getting kicked in the leg and all that. And, took a break from that. I wrestled in middle school. And in high school, I did the Kempo, and then I started up with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu when I was in college. And that was in 1989. I was 21 then, and I'm 52 now. So I've been doing it for a little while now, and I've been doing jiu-jitsu ever since.
Excellent. And what do you think drew you to jiu-jitsu and kept you in it all these years? It was.
I'm sorry, what kept me in it all these years?
Yeah.
It's kind of like the chess match aspect of it. By the way, can you hear me okay? Because I can't hear you here.
Yeah, I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, all right. Because normally I'd be going through here, but I don't hear you at all. There's no connection. So, so what would happen was that jiu-jitsu is it kind of got to my primal sense of survival, and it kind of empowers you. And that's kind of what it was. Me always being a little guy, I'd always fight, growing up, but I know who not to pick a fight with. And I didn't like that, being intimidated by bigger, stronger guys.
Yeah.
And then once I started the jiu-jitsu, then I realized that I actually could level up and deal with larger guys. I never really had to, only because by then I kind of matured some. And as they say, the prefrontal cortex in your brain develops, and you stop being so risky in your attitudes.
Yeah.
And by the time I started Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, maybe after about a year or two after, I didn't really have any desire to pick fights. Although probably when I was in my 20s and maybe early 30s, I wouldn't walk away from them as much as I probably should have. But I think that's what it was. That kind of sucked me into jiu-jitsu, and seeing the personal empowerment that my grandmaster, when I started Rickson Gracie, had, it kind of was attractive to me and to a lot of the people that were training at the time. And it kind of got me involved. But as you learn more and as you start to spar with new people that come in, and you realize that they don't know how to fight. I mean, these guys that just come off of the street, and it got, that part got to be boring. And then it just got to be kind of the whole chess game of it, me trying to beat my training partners and trying to maneuver them and trick them, or like since I started training with Dave Kama, I know with Rickson in the early mid 90s, Rickson was about being able to take what he wanted from you, versus the old Helio Gracie method or mentality of, you are going to make a mistake and I'm going to exploit your mistake. Where Rickson was, he would just take it from you. He said, I'm going to take your right arm, and he'll take your right arm.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to choke you out, and he'll choke you out. And that's a different aspect of the game. So there's at every stage in my training, there's always been something that would intrigue me more and keep me energized in doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Rickson's the greatest of all time, so I suppose Rickson takes what he wants, really. You haven't got much choice in it. But
yes.
But do you feel that Gracie Jiu-Jitsu has changed a lot since you first started in 1989?
It depends on what you call Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. So if you look at how it's gone mainstream, when it's going to mainstream, they're trying to expand it, and they're trying to attract more people to the art. Yeah. But there's two things with that. Number one is you're going to attract people who join the art, but not with the same mentality that the early people here in the U.S. joined it, right? It's a fight, right? And I want to fight. I want to learn how to fight. I want to be better at fighting. Whereas people today don't really join it for that. They join it for self-defense or for, you know, personal betterment. So they don't really get that aspect of what I got.
Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing is, you know, like we're trying to expand it on our end as well. We're trying to get jiu-jitsu more, you know, to the masses. But when you do that, you have to take the next level of mentality, right? The people that did jiu-jitsu back when I started were that really small percentage of the population where they wanted to fight. Now you expand it out. Then you get to the people who want to compete, right? They kind of do the fight, but they also are engaging in the competition side, which is, it's not as violent, as you say. And then now you have the rest of the masses you're trying to bring in so that they can better themselves. It's not to compete, it's not to fight, but it's to better themselves. So it's a lower standard. But at the same time, you know, we here at Kama Jiu-Jitsu believe that the more people that learn it, the better. Because even if you only take a small part of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, then it will better you. Now, has it changed? To a certain degree, it has. It's been expanded, and it's been, for lack of a better term, it's been watered down so that it's more palatable to other people, to more people. But you can always move up. You can always come in as one of the masses learning jiu-jitsu and then go, you know, I kind of like this. Maybe I want to compete in it, right? So then you do that. You kind of compete, and you could, I really like this. Maybe I want to go toward more of the Valley Tudo style that we used to do. That's kind of, in answer to your question, has it changed? It has. For some, it's positive because we're expanding it more, but for some, the original people, it's negative because there aren't that many of us that teach it the way that we learned it.
Yeah. And do you think the rise of sort of jiu-jitsu competition and UFC and that has sort of affected the self-defense side of jiu-jitsu, and it's kind of become more of a sport and the self-defense side is getting lost?
Yeah, it is not necessarily because of the competitions or the UFC. It's just because people don't teach it. Yeah. I always tell my students this. There are three aspects to the art. There's the grappling, there's the self-defense, and then there's the rest of it, the jiu-jitsu with the gi on, and it incorporates everything. It's kind of a blend of it all. People are either teaching just the gi side, or they're teaching just the grappling. So what's happening is you're graduating black belts that only do this or only do this, right? I know Eddie Bravo, and he started the whole thing about the no gi. I have a black belt and no gi, right? Rickson always said that the no gi part is only 30% of the art, which means that you're missing out on 70% of the art if you're only doing no gi. Now, that's the no gi portion of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but the no gi grappling has expanded in and of itself. I mean, it's now, you know, there's all kinds of stuff that are in it. But, you have people like Marcelo Garcia, for instance, who kind of broke onto the scene decades ago when he entered the Abu Dhabi as an unknown and beat everybody. And that was when he was saying in an interview that he always trained with the gi on under Fabio Gurgel. That's his instructor from Alliance. And he only took the gi off 30 days prior to prep for the Abu Dhabi, and he could then do the no gi Abu Dhabi tournament and win it all. So what does that say? That says that somebody who learned the gi only concepts, actually, if you understand the connection and the weight distribution and stuff, it'll translate to the no gi. Now, I don't know about his self-defense, but I know his instructor learned it. I know Fabio Gurgel knows the self-defense stuff because his instructor was Romero Jacare, who was a black belt under Hall's Gracie. He was the last black belt under Hall's Gracie. So I know Hall's taught the self-defense. But people, as you go down the generations and newer black belts, they don't learn the stuff. And if you don't learn it, you can never teach it. So what happens is then you have the migration to MMA, where now jiu-jitsu guys only do groundwork, either on the no gi side or on the gi side. So when they talk about their groundwork, that to them, that's their jiu-jitsu. Oh, I do my BJJ, and then I have to go do my boxing, my wrestling, or my kickboxing, my Muay Thai. Because, not that the self-defense portion of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu takes the place of the other arts, but a classically trained Gracie Jiu-Jitsu fighter is pretty well versed. Whereas in order to become well-versed in, you know, both on your feet and comfortable and clinching and taking down and fighting on the ground, you have to do all those other disciplines now, because my contention is today's jiu-jitsu is incomplete. And it's gone the specialty route.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the way I'm looking at it.
Yeah. And how, you mentioned body connection, and that, how important do you think it is to teach the invisible jiu-jitsu? You often hear Rickson speaking about it, and do you think that's a major part of learning jiu-jitsu?
So it is a major part of Rickson's jiu-jitsu. Now, I've often told people that if you think of Carlos Sr. as the original creator of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and some will contend that he is not, but as far as Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the line that we're in, Carlos is the creator. The next version of it is the version that Elio Gracie did. So I call Carlos Gracie Jiu-Jitsu 1.0. I call Elio 2.0. Yeah. Carson was the first to fight without the gi. So you could call that 3.0. Halls then took what Carson did and added a lot of the American wrestling and a lot more of the aggressive aspects of jiu-jitsu. The more I'm going to take, I'm going to take things from you. That could be 4.0, and then Rickson will be 5.0. So a lot of jiu-jitsu today is an offshoot or is a derivative of Hall's jiu-jitsu. The 4.0, yeah. Right? But Rickson didn't teach too many people. So since he didn't teach too many people, there aren't that many people that actually got to learn Rickson's version of the 5.0. So you can be very good in jiu-jitsu doing the jiu-jitsu that is derivative of the 4.0. So let's call it 4.1, 4.2, 4.3. But until you learn Rickson's jiu-jitsu, you don't really know what you're missing. So the way Rickson termed it was that I saw him in an interview talking about it. He says, let's say you're driving in fourth gear all this time, right? Gracie Jiu-Jitsu 4.0. And you're very good and you're going very fast and you're thinking you're doing well. And then Rickson says, well, what if I told you that there's actually a fifth gear? And you're like, what? So you shift it down into fifth gear, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, now I've got even more speed. My contention is that Rickson didn't stop at fifth gear. That fifth gear, that 5.0 was jiu-jitsu when he was in his 20s. Now he's about 60 years old. He's always developed it. He's never stopped. You know, a lot of jiu-jitsu masters, they stopped developing their jiu-jitsu once they broke off from their master and went off on their own. They never developed the jiu-jitsu past what they got to at black belt. Whereas Rickson continuously developed because he was the one that had to fight, and everybody wanted to fight. Everyone wants to fight the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. And he would then have to go, okay, you know, he wasn't one to duck anybody. He would take them on. You know, it could be in a studio. He'd go to visit, and of course, you know, got 20 black belts in there. They all want a piece of him, and he'll go and beat them all. But to get to that point, he's always in his own time. He has to make sure that his body is healthy. He then worked on, you know, that's why he's doing the yoga, which they call Ginástica Natural, I think, which is he had a mentor in Brazil who taught him that, and he then applied it to his jiu-jitsu. Also, the way he eats, you know, I don't think he does a Gracie diet, but, you know, I don't know exactly how he eats, but the way he eats, the way he breathes, and the way he trains, and he's always thinking of better ways and easier ways to make his concepts better. So you could make an argument that he's like on the 7th version already, and that's why it just gets better and better and better, and it gets easier and easier. So people really, when they go to his seminars, you know, and his seminars are very basic. We went to one in Arlington, Texas here, and it was in 2018. And I remember I had some white belts, some blue belts, and some purple belts that attended his seminar along with me. And at the end of it, they just said, we knew all of this. But there were people, advanced belts, brown belts and black belts, that were also in that seminar. And they're like, their mind was getting blown by what Rickson was doing because they'd never seen it before. But for us, it's what we've always done. Right. Yeah. Now, granted, he may have had a little adjustment on something that we do, but it's an adjustment. It's not a brand new concept that we don't practice. You know, we you know, every day in class, you know, we do the same warm up that Rickson would do in classes. We do, you know, and this is all because that's the way Dave does it, Dave Kama. And then we do self-defense in every class. So yesterday's class, well, not yesterday, I didn't teach yesterday, but the night before I taught, It was the standing headlock from behind escapes, right? How to get out of that. It's kind of the classic that you see in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but Rickson has his own little things on all of it. So even getting headlock, there's connection in that, you know, and making the throws happen a lot easier, making the takedowns, making the, you know, getting out of the situation easier if you know how to connect, as he says, which is something that it's all over the place, all over jiu-jitsu, there's connection in it. Yeah. So his jiu-jitsu is very different, but can you be good at jiu-jitsu without knowing any of his concepts? You can. I just think, you know, as Dave has taught me, that it gets easier if you understand Rickson's concepts of connection and weight distribution.
Excellent. And I know a few years back now, the Gracie University took a big hit that was very controversial, and due to the online belt and all the rest. But do you think because of the pandemic now and everybody's been forced to kind of move online and do that, do you think technology is going to play a big part in the future of jiu-jitsu?
I do. However, jiu-jitsu is there's such a mind game to it. You cannot learn that online. You cannot. I mean, I've done a lot of videos where I try to help viewers like you and others to kind of understand the mindset of it and how we think, and kind of give people an idea who are hungry for knowledge and information on old school jiu-jitsu black belts, how we think and what makes black belts black belts. And learning it on video, you miss that. You know, you don't get the instructor giving you information in real time and saying, do this instead, or when you're getting pressed and when you're fighting. You know, it's easy for people without a coach or without a professor there to quit, for instance, right? If you know, I tell students this: if I just see them training and all of a sudden I see a tap, I'm watching and I don't see anything. It's like, why'd you tap? Oh man, I was exhausted, or I couldn't breathe, right? So, you know, I just had to stop. What I come back to them is, and I ask them this, you know, and if I won't do the beginner, but it'll be more of a seasoned individual who's been training for a while, but they could be like an upper white belt, and I'll just ask them this. I go, when you tapped, when you stopped, were you gonna die? No. Okay. So you weren't going to die. Were you going to get injured? Like, was something going to break, like a ligament, or, you know, did you feel like a bone getting ready to snap? No. Okay. So you weren't going to die and you weren't going to get injured. So the reason why you just stopped, that's just weakness here, right? If you can't breathe, right? Really, could you not breathe, or did you just think you couldn't breathe? Right. So now I'm getting to think a little bit. Like, wait a minute, you know, I could breathe. Or if they say they couldn't breathe, I'd say, okay. And I'd have their partner put me in that situation they're in. Now, if I can breathe without doing by doing the exact same thing, but I can still breathe, I say, you know what? I think you just kind of panicked. So what I need you to do is I need you to take it one step further the next time. When you get this feeling again, I want you to tell yourself, I'm not going to die. I'm not getting injured. Just take a deep breath. Right? Or if I was under that position and I go, yeah, you know, you can't breathe from there, then I teach them how to move that little micro degree so that you can breathe again, right? You can't get that online. No, you can't. No. It's not there. So can people learn online? Definitely. Can you get the entire experience online? You can get a lot of it, right? So the video you're talking about, is that the one where Rickson was on it with Hidon and Henner?
I think so. Yeah, I've seen quite a few of them now, but
yeah. So it was Hidon, Henner, Pedro Sauer, and Rickson. They were talking about how the Gracie Academy was awarding blue belts to online members, people who didn't make it into the Torrance Academy. And every studio has to have their criteria. You have some studios that say, there's no way you're going to get a blue belt from me online. But at the same time, they don't really teach to a curriculum. On the other hand, you have the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu online person who is learning a curriculum and then gets the belt online. This is before that video, right? Up until that video, you could get a blue belt online. You know, you had to send a video and they had to evaluate it. And then they would then say, yeah, here's your Gracie Jiu-Jitsu Academy blue belt and you are one now. Now, what's better? Is it better to be at, with an instructor, learning zero curriculum, learning jiu-jitsu randomly and getting a blue belt, or learning a disciplined curriculum without the instructor present and getting a blue belt? At the end of the day, you could have both of them in front of you, and you could ask the one who went through the curriculum, show me what you know, and that person will show you what you know. Whereas the other person, show me what you know, they might do some stuff that is not in the curriculum. I'm like, okay, that's not Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, or at least not for the level of white to blue belt. It's not there, and not so. So then who is the blue belt there?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And do you think more jiu-jitsu schools need to take on more of a linear curriculum kind of path rather than just teaching sporadically?
That's up to the professor, because everybody's going to run their school the way they see fit. The way we run our school is not necessarily the way anybody else should run their school, and the way they run the school is not the way we're going to run the school. Nobody likes to be told what to do. But if your goal, right, our goal is to take Kama Jiu-Jitsu and introduce it to as many people as we can around the world so that they learn Grandmaster Rickson's Jiu-Jitsu, then we have to do it. We have to have an online model as a component in there, like the Gracie Academy has for their version of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. They have over 1,000 students in their actual physical academy that are there that learn from them. And then they have thousands more that are outside in the Gracie certified training centers, learning it. Is it to the same degree? I would say no. I mean, it's much better to learn directly under Hiron and Henner than it would be to not learn under them. Yeah. But in order for them to get their family art around, just like in order for us to get Rickson Gracie's art, because we don't want Rickson Gracie's art to die. Dave Kama does truly believe that Rickson's expression of Gracie Jiu-Jitsu definitely is the best that there is. So we're doing our part to try to spread it. Rickson has been doing more of his online things. I think he has I don't know what he calls his school now. He has his online school, and he has some videos that he's done as well. But that's only scratching the surface. Yeah. It's out of what Rickson teaches and does, that might be 1%. And he's trying to cater to the masses. Nobody, unfortunately, is going to get the same experience that we got learning directly under him. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. And we try to since we're running academy, Rickson doesn't run an active school anymore. But since we do, we try to give it to our students, but at the same time, it's a very, like I said earlier, it's a very small percentage of the population that really wants that type of training. Very few people want to be pushed that hard. Yeah. And, that's where the Gracie Academy had with their combatives curriculum. And after you completed the combatives and you did the video and all that, they give you the blue belt. Well, now, since talking with Rickson, they've done, I guess they've compromised some, and they do the white belt with the blue stripe going across the belt, right? With Grandmaster Rickson, he doesn't want any belt. He goes, that is not something you earn a belt for. It's just a white belt. The white belt is just to keep your gi together. But after you finish that, there's no reward for that. That's his thinking, right? Whether anybody agrees with it or not, it is what it is. That's what Rickson believes. And I'm not gonna go against what he says, and neither is Dave. So because we fall under Rickson.
And finally, where can people find out more about yourself, Ryan, and find Kama Jiu-Jitsu online?
Well, the easiest place would be to depends on what you want. If you just want to see like me conversing with you, then YouTube is it. On the other hand, if you'd like to learn Kama Jiu-Jitsu, then Dave Kama has done hundreds of videos, curriculum videos that we've done, and he's put them together in modules, and it's in order, and that's all on kamajujitsuonline.com. And that way you also get our YouTube videos as well. We do have a link that has the YouTube videos as well as all the technical videos. And also online, we have something called Class Notes. And Class Notes is videos of our class sessions where the concept being taught isn't directly in one of the curriculum modules, but it's something that really you should know. but it's not to the level and to the importance that something that would be in the curriculum is.
Yeah. Excellent. And I'll put links to everything in the description there too. And it was a pleasure speaking with you today, Ryan. And all the best.
Pleasure was
mine. Thank you very much, now.
All right. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.
Same to yourself.
Happy training.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye now.